two things at the same time, each one contradictory to the other. Mr. Krem gave us some clue as to when these dramatic changes will occur. He said this on June the 23rd, 1977. Slowly, gradually, over the next 25 years, the hierarchy will externalize itself. 1977 plus 25 years is the year 2002. That date is close to the year 2000, and that date is extremely significant, as we shall see later in this lecture. So if the Masonic lodges are to bring us these new changes, it becomes important to study them. And it is not an impossible task, even though they claim to be secret. They have made their position clear in a variety of books written by a group of very high-ranking Masons. So I'd now like to start my study of the Masonic fraternity. I'd first like to explain that I am not a member of the Masons, nor have I ever been a member of the Masons. Every Masonic book that I will quote from during this lecture was written by one of their official writers and is not secret. I have found many of these books in a typical bookstore selling new books or in a used bookstore, and none of what I will be covering is secret. However, I must be clear. Many of these authors conceal the truth in symbols or inside words that have more than one meaning. But once you understand the concealed language, their writing becomes clear and understandable. I first started studying the Masonic Lodge in about 1976 and took the results of my preliminary research out to the American people during a nationwide lecture tour in 1985, 86, and 87. My book entitled The New World Order that I published in 1990 was the first one that I can find that exposed the Masonic Lodge for what it was from their own material. Apparently the Masons have noticed. This is a photocopy of a cover of the national magazine called The Northern Light, published by the Northern Jurisdiction of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. On pages 20 and 21 of their February 1993 issue, Thomas W. Jackson, a 33rd degree Mason, meaning that he is a high-ranking member of the Lodge, reviewed the book entitled The New World Order, written by Pat Robertson. Mr. Robertson wrote his book after my book by the same title was in his hands. So this reviewer was not reviewing Pat Robertson's book, he was reviewing mine. Near the end of his review, Mr. Jackson made this comment. The Freemasonry historically was composed of the retarded, the illiterates, and the misfits of society. I might be able to comprehend the attitude of men like Robertson, meaning Pat Robertson, Hawley, meaning Dr. James L. Hawley, a medical doctor who a short time ago attempted to get the Southern Baptist Church to renounce Masonry, John Ankerberg, meaning John Ankerberg, a television evangelist who has a nationwide television program which has on occasion produced programs exposing the lower layer Masonic Lodge initiation ceremonies, Epperson, meaning me, Ralph Epperson, and others in their fanatical devotion to attacks against Freemasonry and Freemasons. So Pat Robertson, James Hawley, John Ankerberg, and Ralph Epperson have arrived. I am pleased that the Masons recognize that my book is having an effect on their membership. Yes, it is true. I have arrived. I am known by my enemies. I was mentioned again in another Masonic publication. This is called the American Masonic Review in their winter 1993 edition. They reprinted a speech by Gary Liazor, I guess, that he delivered to the Southeast Masonic Conference on August the 6th, 1993, in which he discussed his conclusion that Gary Kaw, A. Ralph Epperson, William T. Still, and Pat Robertson are well-known conspiracists who see Freemasonry as part of a worldwide conspiracy. I am honored to be included in his list of those telling the truth about the Masonic Order. To start my study of the Masons, I would like to go back to 1826 and talk about Captain William Morgan. He claimed that he had been a Mason for over 30 years when he wrote this book entitled Freemasonry Exposed in 1826. And in 1827, Captain William Morgan was murdered by some Masons in New York. The captain had paid with his life for exposing some of the secrets of the Masonic Lodge. Captain Morgan knew that as a Mason he had taken a blood oath that he would be killed by the Masons if he revealed the secrets of the Masonic Lodge. This is Duncan's ritual, a copy of the rituals for the first 7 degrees of the Masonic Order. Captain Morgan, like all other third-degree Masons, took an oath during the third-degree ceremony. This is what the captain swore himself to. All this I promise, meaning here that he will agree to the commitments he made just a few minutes before. All this I promise, binding myself under no less penalty than that of having my body severed in two, my bowels taken from thence and burned to ashes, that no more remembrance might be had of so vile and wicked a wretch as I would be, should I ever knowingly violate this, my Master Mason's obligation. So Captain Morgan, like any other third-degree Mason who discovered the truth about the Masons, faced a real quandary. Should he tell the truth and risk his own death, or should he remember the oath he had taken and remain silent? The captain chose to tell the truth. And true to their word, the Masons murdered Captain Morgan shortly after he published his book. This is a picture of the statue erected in memory of Captain William Morgan in Batavia, New York. This is a slide of the base of that monument showing clearly that the Captain Morgan is the person depicted thereon, and this is what is written on one side of the base of the statue. The statue was erected by volunteer contributions from over 2,000 persons residing in Canada, Ontario, and 26 of the United States and territories. This is a slide of another side of the monument, and it has this written on it: sacred to the memory of William Morgan, a native of Virginia, a captain in the War of 1812, a respectable citizen of Batavia, and a martyr to the freedom of writing, printing, and speaking the truth. He was abducted from near this spot in the year 1826 by the Freemasons and murdered for revealing the secrets of that order. Another side of the monument reads: the court records of Genesee County and files of the Batavia Advocate kept in the recorder's office contain the history of the events that caused the erection of this monument. And to show the world that Captain Morgan found the truth about the Masonic Order, this is what he wrote in part in his book and as recorded on the foreside of the statue. This is in his book and on the foreside. The bane. Now, we do not use this word in our modern vocabulary, but it is defined as the ruin. So Captain Morgan is saying that the ruin of our civil institutions is to be found in Masonry, already powerful and daily becoming more so. I owe my country an exposure of its dangers. So Captain Morgan risked his own life because he saw that the Masonic Lodge was going to change our civil institutions, meaning the very way we lived our lives, meaning our civilization. And in 1827, the anger caused by the captain's murder caused millions of people in America to form this nation's first third party, other than the Republicans or Democrats, in 1832. They called themselves the Anti-Mason Party and ran candidates for the presidency and vice presidency of the United States and got 7% of the national vote. Mackey's Encyclopedia, one of the great Masonic books of all time, tells us what the Masons state. Tells us that the Masons state that the object of the Anti-Masonic Party was to deprive Masonry of the support which it derives from the power and patronage of the executive branch of the United States government. So Albert Mackey, truly one of the great Masonic researchers in the world, tells us that the Masons were concerned that they would be deprived of the power of the presidency. The implication is that the Masons control the presidency and that Captain Morgan was attempting to deprive the Masons of that control. Notice that Captain Morgan said they were using that control for the purpose of destroying America's civilization. Each of us has to decide if Captain Morgan was right or Albert Mackey was right. And I am attempting to prove that the good captain was right because, quite simply, as I will continue to prove during the course of this lecture, Masonry is out to destroy our civilization. I'm going to prove that in their own material. Going back to Mr.